Let's go to Washington now for reaction from the Obama administration with Labor Secretary Tom Perez. Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Obviously, a very positive report pretty much across the board.
Absolutely. This is strong, steady, sustained growth. You look not only at last month, but you look at the last 6 months, and that we've had the best stretch since the late 90s. You look at key sectors. Business and professional services over the last year, over 700,000. You look at construction, another solid month. Auto sales last month were the highest since 2006. So we're moving in the right direction, and you see confidence all over this report. Employers are hiring, job seekers are coming back looking for work, and the economy continues to have a wind at its back.
Right. We should point out that the 5.7% unemployment rate ticking up slightly because people are coming back in the labor market. That's got to be more of a positive than anything.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you about the one negative. Alan Kruger was on with us before the report. He said, look, the long-term unemployed are the biggest problem here. We've got to do something about that. And that number held steady at 2.8 million.
Well, that's one of the pieces of unfinished business. When you look at the 3 million people who got jobs last year, what we saw was the majority of people who went from unemployed to employed were long-term unemployed. So it came down, but Alan's absolutely right that one of the biggest pieces of unfinished business is addressing the plight of the long-term unemployed. That's why we brought businesses together. We developed a toolkit to help employers understand that the long-term unemployed have great talent. We invested $150 million in a competitive grant to help catalyze best practices, and we're seeing that at work. And we're creating new tools in our toolkit because the existing tools were working, but we needed more because we need to pick up that pace. And the more the economy tightens and the more we sustain this progress, the more we will see progress on the long-term unemployed.
Does this give you and the president ammunition to push through a big trade deal? I know it's important to you, but congressional Democrats don't seem too thrilled with it.
Well, we're meeting with congressional Democrats and Republicans regularly. You look at the Asia and Pacific region, that's where the growth is. And people can do business with the United States. Our borders in terms of trade, we have very low tariffs in the aggregate. And yet, you try to do business in Malaysia or, other countries, and, the playing field simply isn't level. And so the president's North Star on trade is to make sure that we produce agreements that are good for American workers, that include labor protections, environmental protections. And when you lift wages in Vietnam and in Malaysia and elsewhere, and you lift standards of living, you lift worker safety, that will actually raise the boats everywhere. And so that's why we continue to work on that. We continue to address concerns that our friends have in Congress, and it's an all-hands-on-deck enterprise.
Your bottom line, we want to sell more stuff to them than we buy from them, right? And the trade deficit in December didn't go in our favor there. That's how you add jobs, isn't it?
Well, you look at places like Boeing. A sector like Boeing. I meet with small businesses right now who are exporting to China and elsewhere, and what that means is they're adding jobs. And when places like Boeing, these are jobs that are paying $30, $40 an hour. So I think there's real opportunity. We have to do it right. We have to learn from the mistakes of the past. That's what we're doing. We have to make sure that it's a trade deal that works for American workers. It's a trade deal that makes sure that sanctions are meaningful, enforcement is real, and those are the issues that we're working on. I firmly believe that we can use this TPP and our trade agreement with Europe to help lift the status of American workers and continue to sustain the progress in the economy. And that's why we're working so hard on it.
Mr. Secretary, what do you think about the strong dollar? I mean, you mentioned the automotive sector. It's obviously booming. All of the U.S. automakers are adding jobs and even raising wages in some cases. Can that continue with the strong dollar against a weaker yen, a weaker euro?
Well, I think, we're obviously monitoring that very closely, but, I feel very confident right now about both the dollar and the state of our economy. We're continuing, when you look at just where we've been over the last year, and you look again in the auto sector, there are many opportunities, not only here but overseas. You may recall that the Jeep plant in Toledo during the 2012 campaign, there was a claim that plant was going to move to China. Well, actually, they've added 1,000 jobs, and what's moving to China and other countries is the product that they're making. So I think we can sustain that because we've got a great product, a great workforce. We have an energy advantage here and so many other advantages. And so I feel very bullish about our capacity to sustain this progress.
Great. Labor Secretary Tom Perez, really appreciate your take on this strong jobs report.